Hello there pretty people of the internet, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Annika and I'm a recent law grad, and I have now decided not to take the bar exam. In the United States, in order to be a practicing and licensed attorney, you need to take the bar exam and be admitted to the bar of that state. I think there's one state that doesn't require a bar exam normally, but otherwise all other states do. A lot of states do something called the UBE, the Universal Bar Exam, where the test is the same across multiple states. You get a score that you can transfer from one state to another within certain time limits. That will make it easy for someone to, for instance, go to law school in New York, take the bar exam there, and then transfer that score to Washington or Oregon or any of these other, I think in the 30s, states and practice law there. The bar exam is archaic. It tests your ability to memorize law. It doesn't test your ability to be a practicing attorney. It's very unpopular among students because it's what I just said, like it doesn't test your ability to be an attorney, just your ability to memorize law, which is what you did for the past 3 years in law school. In most states, they don't even test you on state law, they test you on like general concepts of law, which isn't even applicable in your state. Studying for the bar is a full-time job for at least 2 months before the exam, so that's extremely time consuming, it's very expensive, it's very draining on you emotionally, physically, and your resources. And then you put a global pandemic on top of that, and it's a shit show. The bar exam is usually administered at the end of July and in February of each year. However, we're in a pandemic, so things are kind of changing around here. A few months ago, the National Conference of Bar Examiners decided to have an optional September exam in addition to the July and February exam because things are so up in the air. A few states like New York decided to make that the only exam, so do away with the July exam. Some states decided to add it and have people choose between July or September, and some people or states didn't really do anything. Oregon was one of these states until yesterday. Initially, when these decisions were made, we were hoping that maybe things would be more normal again at this point, but that's clearly not happening. Having an exam a month from now in the US is gonna be a shit show, because quite honestly, things are not going well over here. Here in Oregon, we've had a lot of advocacy from the recent graduates, from the law schools, and from other people in the legal community, asking the Oregon State Bar, the Board of Bar Examiners, and the Oregon Supreme Court to make changes because of the circumstances we are currently in. So yesterday I watched a public meeting from the Oregon Supreme Court where they decided a few key things that have led to my decision to not take the bar exam. The first thing the Oregon Supreme Court decided was to administer an October online-only Oregon bar exam. This will be a bar exam that will allow for admittance to Oregon only and not like a UB score that you can normally transfer between states. I think they're also allowing for late applications for that, so people who decided that they either couldn't or wouldn't take the July bar exam can still apply for this exam, because we didn't know when the deadline ran for the July exam that this would be an option. The second thing they decided, and this is the most exciting one for me, is to grant diploma privileges to certain people. A diploma privilege is basically saying that your diploma, the fact that you graduated from an ABA accredited law school, is sufficient in place of the bar exam. So you still have to pass all the other bar requirements like character and fitness, taking the MPRE, having applied, things like that, but you do not need to sit for the exam. Again, this is only for admittance to the Oregon bar, and you can't really transfer this other places. Now, I know there are rules for like transferring your score and reciprocity and things like that, but I don't really know what the state of that is at the moment, so I'm not gonna get into that. I feel like a lot of states will have to make a lot of one-time exceptions. The Oregon Diploma privilege will be available to students who graduated in 2020, either January, spring, or summer 2020 from an Oregon law school. It is also available for people who graduated from an ABA accredited law school who has a first-time bar passage taking success rate of 80, I think they settled on 86% or higher. you must also have applied to take the July bar exam in Oregon in order to qualify. Now, this is important. You must have applied. It doesn't mean you have to have gotten accepted. Because Oregon suddenly decided to cut off at 500 applicants, about 50 or so applicants were left out and weren't able to qualify to sit for the July bar exam. However, if those applicants were timely, they can still get the diploma privilege. The thinking is it wasn't their fault that there was a cutoff. They did everything they were supposed to do. They filed timely. They would otherwise qualify to sit. It was just the circumstances limited seating. I fall into this category. I graduated from an Oregon law school in 2020. I was planning on sitting the July bar exam, and now I don't have to. So by July 6th, we will have to choose whether we still want to sit the exam or if we want to get the diploma privilege. I think they're still working on the details. So far I haven't seen anything published by the Oregon Supreme Court, but I think they're working on the writing and working with the Board of Bar Examiners to figure out exactly how people make their selections and things like that. The third thing they decided to do was to lower the cut score for the July 2020 exam. Normally Oregon's cut score is at 274, which is I think the third highest in the nation for UBE states, down to 266. They decided to make that decision now because it's important for people who want to study and make the decision of whether they want to take the diploma privilege or take the bar exam. It's important for them to know exactly how they need to perform. It was very clear from the meeting that a lot of thought and consideration had gone into this, and Justice Flynn and Justice Nakamoto were the ones that had done the research and presented these motions for the court, and they did a fantastic job. I'm especially impressed with Justice Nakamoto. I feel like our concerns as students were very validated in the things she said. She was talking about how this coronavirus and this whole pandemic has had an unequal impact, inequality of impact on applicants and bar sitters that has made it impossible for a lot of people to study and put them in situations they couldn't imagine being in. They were also talking about not just the pandemic, but how a lot of people of color are having a very hard time now with racial tensions rising in the country and the protests that have been going on for this past month. And how that and the activism and the emotional drain has been very hard on a lot of students. They also described why they choose to do all three things, because not everyone will qualify for each. So certain people need to take the UBE, like certain people are moving to different states, or they're planning on moving to a different state in a year or so they need that UBE score. So lowering the cut score for those people is how they thought they could help them. Not everyone will qualify for the diploma privilege. For instance, people who have already sat the bar exam and failed, or people who graduate from a law school that doesn't meet that 86% requirement won't qualify for the diploma privilege, and that's why they decided to do the October test. We asked for all these things in the alternative. We asked for diploma privilege, if not that, have another later exam, if not that, lower the score. And they granted all of them, which I think a lot of us are very happy about. There's still a lot of uncertainty because we don't really know exactly how this is going to go into effect. For instance, people who are planning on sitting for the July bar exam with the lower cut score but with the stricter cleanliness and distance requirements, what happens if that bar exam is forced to be postponed because of rising cases of COVID? Will they then be able to go back and ask for the diploma privilege? Will they have to wait till September or February? What are their options? That wasn't entirely clear from the conversation. I think the meeting and the passing of these motions relieved a lot of stress for students. I still can't really believe it. I'm a little scared. A lot of us are also having concerns about how we will be perceived as we enter the legal market with getting diploma privilege instead of taking the bar exam. It is like a big rite of passage for lawyers, and a lot of people are scared that employers won't hire them if they get diploma privilege, that they won't be respected as lawyers if they get diploma privilege, which are valid concerns because lawyers can kind of be dicks. But I think it's very sad that we have to think about this. I think a lot of us have also put in a lot of time, money, and effort. Like, I've already committed over 250 hours studying for the bar exam. I'm almost done with all the subjects. I have one lecture left and then I've covered all the subjects. I'm testing very well. So for me it's very hard to say I'm not going to do it. It kind of feels like you wasted a lot of time and effort and money and it's hard to let go of. However, I'm not really planning on moving to another UB state for a long period of time in the foreseeable future. I think if we're moving out of Oregon, it would be back to Norway, and they don't really take the UB score anyways, so it won't really matter. It's just hard to let go, you know, and feel like I took the easy way out, because nothing is easy about this situation. Anyways, I just wanted to get that out there. I am nervous, I'm excited, I'm happy I don't have to study anymore. I'm also sad that everything ended so quickly. I wasn't quite ready for it. No one really expected this to happen. We were sure that it was going to be a flat no, and we got all 3 things we asked for, so most of us are pretty stoked. I feel very validated. I feel like the justices really put in time to researching and trying to understand what we are going through, and that they really saw us and respected us and want to welcome us into the legal community, but to do it in a way that makes sense in these extraordinary times. The justices responsible for the diploma privilege, by the way, are Justice Flynn, Justice Nelson, Justice Nakamoto, and Chief Justice Walter. Just wanted to put that out there. If you're in Oregon or another state that has allowed diploma privilege, please let me know down below what you're choosing and why. If you're watching this later down the road, this was a one-time thing, but I'm hoping that we can work together to abolish the bar exam altogether. I will be there fighting with you, I promise. This is my promise to you, future law grads, that I will work hard to get rid of the bar exam altogether. It's pointless, it's a waste of time and money, and it really limits admissions of lawyers based on who has the money to do it and who does not have other responsibilities, which I think is insane. If you have any more specific questions about the meeting, I will try to answer them as best as I can in the comment section. I sat through the whole thing, but I obviously don't remember everything that happened, but until we have like a public notice, I might be better equipped at answering your questions than most people. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all later because I have time to film now that I don't have to study for the bar exam. Bye!